It's lovely to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's absolutely. So you are the founder of Ramalik. Is that right? Have I got that right?
Yes, Ramalik. Yes, yes.
Ramalik Illustrations. So you're an award-winning author, illustrator, and entrepreneur. So you went about chasing your dreams, and
Yes.
as a result, you've inspired others across the globe. With your stories, and they're often specifically linked to themes of spirituality and social justice.
Yes.
So it'd be really good to hear from you about your journey and how you started, and just your experiences, really, obviously, of the last year as well.
Sure, sure. So first of all, thank you again, Michelle and Monique, for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Just getting to chat with you both. So my journey has been really kind of like all over the place. I would say, it hasn't been linear whatsoever. So I actually went to undergrad for anthropology and Chinese, and truthfully, I had no clue what I wanted to do with it, but I just knew that I was interested. But at the same time, I knew that I was also holding on to this love for art and for creating. But truthfully, like I was terrified of going after it. You know, that there was this stereotype of the starving artist and the stereotype of, you'll never make it or whatever, society tells you about a career in the arts. And there also was my own personal fear of maybe not being good enough in the art field to sustain myself. So, I avoided it. But throughout my time there, I kind of kept getting little breadcrumbs, kind of encouraging me to do it. So my freshman year, my art teacher, she was like, "You're really good at drawing. You should consider it." I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But it wasn't until right, I was like, okay, I'll take it. But it wasn't until my senior year where a friend of mine suggested me for the Africana Center to host their gallery kind of exhibition. So I ended up becoming like the first African American to host an art gallery exhibition space there. And a teacher of mine approached me and she said, "Hey, I'm writing a book and I would actually love for you to design the cover." And I was like, "What? Okay." I was like, "Wait, you can get paid for doing this stuff? Okay." So I mocked up a few ideas with her. We finished it, and it ended up becoming the cover and selected by Rutgers University Press. And so at that point, I was like, "Oh wait, like this is actually a viable career." So I wrote on my Facebook, I was like, "I'm a freelance illustrator. I'm looking for work. You know, hire me." Got hired to do a children's book. Ended up becoming a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And I was like, okay, so I'm doing something right. Like let's move forward with it. And so I actually, had a little bump in the road. I ended up getting into a relationship that was unfortunately abusive. So, I realized that I had given my power away for 8 months of my life. And at the end of that relationship, I was like, okay, I can sit here and feel like a victim and, kind of sit here and sit here in pity, or I can kind of take that power back that I gave away willingly and reinvent myself. And that's what I did. So I decided to apply. Yes, I decided to apply to a grad school. It was the #3 animation school at the time, and I got in. It was SCAD. And so while I was there, I'm doing my thing, loving it, but I just had this feeling like there was something off. So I said, I'm learning these skills to learn how to work for somebody else, but I want to be my own boss. I want to create my own work. So in the middle of the program, and also because they were trying to charge me an additional 40,000 to take 2 classes, and I was like, no, thanks.
You don't have an extra 40,000? Come on.
Just chilling, that would be lovely. But no, I did not have an extra 40,000. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put this on hold and come back home and pursue my career. And that's when I created my children's book series with the characters behind me, Carefree Like Me. And the book series has really been about talking to kids about your emotions, how to be in touch with your emotions, how to name them. And I realize that a lot of kids, but also men, as we get older, we struggle with naming our feelings. And I wanted to make this work accessible. I wanted to make it fun, and I wanted to make it an adventure. And, you know, it follows two best friends who get stuck in the spirit world and are basically stuck there until they can heal the emotions of these different heroes. And each hero represents a different feeling, a different ancient culture, and a different chakra in the Hindu Buddhist system. So it's these kids winding through, and you know the books have won awards. It's just been really incredible. So you know my journey has been windy, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I wouldn't have wound up here. You know.
Yeah, and I guess that's the important thing, right? It's your journey and you being able to go through those emotions that have then led to you turning those into something that other people can learn from. It'd be good to know who these characters are actually behind you.
Yes. So who we have here, this guy, he's a mirror. So he's based on me actually. So this character is very sunshiny. He's very like thinks with his heart instead of his head. And you know that's great, but sometimes it can get him into trouble because he's not thinking through the issue. Whereas this character here, Nina, she's based on my best friend of like 21 years now. And like Nina, she's very logical, very warm, but you know sometimes her over analytical thinking can block her from feeling. So both characters kind of complement each other, and help each other where one might be lacking. So the character that you see behind me, this is Sakura. She's one of the heroes, and she's based on the ancient Aztecs, or the Mexica. And her story is that she actually is about sadness. What do you do when you're really sad? So she loses her ability to produce rain and water and grass and trees because she's lost her joy. So the kids have to basically help her figure out how do you get that joy back? And they help her realize that one of the best ways to do that is to be in community, is to have friends and connect with people when you are struggling. So you know each story is supposed to be an adventure. It's not meant to be preachy. I never want to preach at people, but I want people to get those lessons, and kind of learn in the process of being on this adventure with them.
Yeah, and I think also, like, you know, society has gone a long way from what it used to be. You know, it's very
Yes.
taboo to talk about your emotions, talk about mental awareness, and we have come a long way with that, but there's still a lot to be done.
Oh
And,
yeah.
you know, you're using this platform to help people and inspire them to talk more about their emotions and connect with a character who's going through it. So I think that's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, I really,
Yes. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. No, I had one of the best reviews from one mom in particular, where she you know, because it's also important for me to reflect the world that we live in, which is diverse and beautiful, and colorful, and just full of difference. And well, two stories. So one little girl was very obsessed with the book, to the point that the mom had to hide it in the closet so she wouldn't read it to her anymore. Which is like the highest praise. But the best part was when in the first book, you know, the first book deals with fear, um and the main character's name is Root. So she was afraid to do something, but then she kind of like shook her head and said to her mom, like, no, I'm gonna be brave like King Root. And I was like, oh
Oh,
my
that's
god,
amazing.
It's so sweet. Yeah.
isn't it?
Wow.
My heart just exploded. I was like,
Wow.
okay, clearly the message is coming through.
Yeah,
So you
that
know,
that's incredible. And at such a young age, and you know,
yes,
we, like me and Monique, our thing is we want to change future generations in the way they think and inspire them. So you doing this through the power of your books to that younger generation, I mean, I'm so excited that we are able to do this, and actually change the future. And I
yes,
think the more people who have that power, and use platforms to do that, it can only lead to good things. And you know, you're always going to have negativity. You're always
exactly.
going to have areas and people that go against that and have their own opinions on things. Fine, they can do that. Let them be happy doing that. But we need to stop people hurting other people.
Exactly.
And I think that's key,
Yeah,
really.
definitely agree.
Yeah. And I think from us, obviously the last year has been really difficult for everyone across the globe.
Right,
But I think from our point of view, you know, we're over in the UK, we get fed
right.
certain information about what's going on.
Yes,
And, you know, I've always been of the opinion that the media will feed you what they want you to know. Um,
exactly.
so it'd be really interesting for us to hear about how you felt being in the US. Not only did you have to deal with the virus, but also
Mm,
there were a lot of social and political movements going on, which were monumental, and
yes.
it's definitely felt across the globe. So yeah, it'd be amazing to hear from your point, being in there and actually experiencing
Yeah, you
it.
guys had yeah, like you said, monumentous moments this year. Well, last year, you know,
Right.
self a new president now as well. So
Thank
yeah,
God.
been us in.
I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna. Yay! Like I'm not even gonna pretend.
No, don't pretend. This is all about being real here with us.
No,
And
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So this past year has just been such a whirlwind. Like, between a global pandemic, um, the social upheaval that was happening here, and just generally trying to cope, while being stuck in the house. It's definitely been tremendous. So I mean, like, from the well, from the political standpoint, it's interesting because a lot of people like to say, oh, I'm not political, or I'm not really involved with politics, but I'm like, if you're breathing, you're political, because your existence is political. So for me, like, this, I think it's interesting looking at the events of this year from the perspective of identity, right? So I've had this conversation with plenty of other, people who identify with marginalized groups, and we all were in a state of panic, because it literally felt like we were about to be in a civil war at any point. And truthfully, that feeling is still kind of like bubbling under the surface. Like, we're just kind of like skating by, and hoping things, like, hoping the pendulum moves towards peace. But it all kind of it all kind of culminated, for me in particular, with the Capitol event, and what happened actually this year, at the Capitol. And for folks who might be watching who might not be familiar, right. I'm like, who doesn't know? But
Never,
right.
never know.
You never know. But there were, to be frank, it was white supremacists. It was um homegrown terrorists, insurrectionists, who were and to be honest, like, these also were groups of vulnerable people who might not have been educated, or who were educated and just fell prey to Donald Trump. People who fell prey to that, his kind of ideology, but also had their own problematic ideologies, and decided to attack the Capitol building to assassinate members of Congress, and to take over the Capitol building, and, I guess, achieve anarchy, and build a whole new government, through a fake revolution, basically. So, like, while that was happening, everybody's mouth was agape. But for in particular, for folks in the Black American community, we were just kind of like, we're not shocked at this is the culmination of what we've been talking about for hundreds of years. And people have pushed under the rug because it hasn't affected them, because it hasn't bothered them. But now it's like in your face, how different the treatment of these people, who just happen to be majority white, storming the Capitol, versus people who were peacefully protesting and being like, hey, please don't shoot me in the back as I'm getting a cup of coffee. I think, particularly being Black, being gay, being like anything that's not Republican, white, and male, is pretty scary.
Yeah,
Like, there's places that my mom and I just won't go, because we just know that area is known to be racist or whatever, and where we just don't feel safe. And I'm like, why is that happening in 2021? You know,
Yeah.
It's stupid.
It kind of sucks because I'm not sure, like over here in England, if I ever feel like there is a place I don't feel safe. Like I don't think there's an area at the top of my head. I mean, don't
Right.
get twisted, we have racism here, and you
Oh
have
yeah.
have it here full blown, but I don't think there's an area that I could say, yeah, no, we can't go there. Not in not in London.
Not in London. I was just
Not
about
in
to
London.
say, yeah.
So when it comes to outside of London, I mean, I've got family in Birmingham as well, actually. I mean, and even when we go there, I'm not too educated on that area. But in London wise, I don't think there's anywhere I could ever feel like that.
I think me and Monique went to a rough part of London when we went to school.
One off, because we've done pretty good, but it is a bit of a
we did, like, I'm just being honest.
I'm like, one off.
Right. What of those bases?
It was rough. And I think me and Monique are very fortunate. We've always been surrounded by people of all different backgrounds.
Yes.
Race. Like, so we're very like, the way we approach things, and this is why we set up a business together, right? Because we want to change the future. We want to change the future generation thinking.
Yes.
We want people to be more open-minded. We want to run a business that doesn't look at the person, right? We're just like, we see everyone as equal at the end of the day, like regardless.
Yeah, it's one thing for people from a particular community to speak up and say, hey, we need representation. But I think that's another thing to have somebody from a majority group be like, hey, you know, like, yes, this looks like me, but I also recognize that this doesn't look like my friend. So can we get more of that? So
yeah. And that, do you know what, that's what it's about. And that's why I think together, you know, we can make a change. And I think having people like you who are also using a platform to spread that word and bring awareness to people, because it is about educating people, okay?
Yes.
I think there's also generations and the way they think and the way they've been brought up and the way society influences certain behaviours. So it's very much educating, you know, and saying to people, yes, okay, all lives matters, but at the moment we're talking about Black Lives Matters, and this is why, okay?
Exactly. The whole year has been emotionally draining, in particular for the world, but I think for Americans, who are conscious of social issues and conscious of just what's happening behind the scenes, we're exhausted. And I think now we're moving in a better direction, but it's like we all feel this heaviness that is still
there.
in the process
it
of
hasn't
lifting.
gone anywhere.
Right. Right.
Say, I mean, we were exhausted on this side of the world, just watching everything that was happening, you know, over there with you guys. And it was just, it's heartbreaking. It's actually heartbreaking to see, one, everything that's going on and the difference in treatment with, I mean, we know not everyone's like that, and I get it, you know, we just put it out there. We know not every white person's racist, not every white person stormed the Capitol, we know this, but we're still, you know, even when you said you know, it was, you know, homegrown terrorists, but they wouldn't use that word in the media,
right?
And we know why they wouldn't use that word in the media.
But let's be honest, it's like, actually, if those people weren't white, they would have been shot.
Right.
That's the reality. Let's be real here, you know. And I think you're very right about what you said, that actually we live in a world where if it's not affecting white people, they're okay with that. That's fine, you know. It's not an issue. But actually, when people are getting shot and it's brought to the media attention, or they're being unfairly treated, and it's then hitting the media around the world, actually, hang on a minute, this isn't right. Why are we just sitting back and letting this happen? Why are we not all supporting each other and recognizing that change needs to happen.
Yep.
And actually, you know, there was a whole thing over here in the UK where, yeah, we were trying to get behind it, and then you'd hear people saying, okay, yeah, Black Lives Matters, but so everyone's lives matters. And it's like, shut up, people.
Right.
Your
Right.
time, right? Let me educate you on the fact that actually just because you're white, you're already okay. You don't need to worry, okay? You're already privileged. As soon as you come into the world, you don't need to have the same worries as other people of color, right? And it's like, that's what this is about, okay? But again, it's an education piece, okay? So it's people like us changing that mentality. You're changing the mentality through the platforms you have, and voicing that. And yeah, we just need to keep going with it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it's really cool. I mean, being able to connect with people without necessarily having to talk to them is like one of the greatest things that I could ask for. You know, like I shared a book. Well, someone bought my book, and you know, they bought it for their son who is half black and half white. And you know, she was so excited about the book because he pointed to the main character and he said, "Mommy, he looks like me." And you know, she was like, that was like the first time that he had ever said that about a book. And you know, it's moments like that where I'm like, oh God, it's working.
There's a lot of people that exactly feel that exact same way, that the kids are grown up, especially over here. There's not a lot of, let's say, black mixed race characters or, you know, programs. So when you do get it, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone, we've got to watch it, so they know we want to watch this, like we need this.
We need to do something about this now. We need to act, we need to change now. Enough is enough. You know what? You're from a different culture, you're a different race, and automatically, as soon as you're born, you don't need to worry about going into an interview and being judged on your color or your culture, where you're from or whatever. You know, you're just worried about, have I got the right skill set?
Exactly.
It's true. It's true, and they don't realize it. As a mother as well, it's like, I've got to think about these names that I give my children, because when they do go into an interview or when they look at their CV, they're going to be judged by their name. And it's wrong. We should name our children whatever you want to name your children. But it is something that you think about when you have a child. It's like, okay, I need to take their names. I need to think about a name, like, you know, what I could give them that someone's not, I can't call her Shaquanda, because they're going to be like, oh, no, you don't want to. She's going to have attitude.
I want to cry.
That's literally in the back of my mind every time each time I have a child. From even when I was 17, from a young age, it was like, I need to make sure I pick a name that, you know, is fine for my kids. That's just naturally how it is. And a lot of people, I mean, some people don't care, and that's fine, don't care. But in the back of my, I'm like, I need to. It's something that I think about. So, you know.
But you're in touch with reality.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's good not to care, but at the same time, there's a way to go about trying to break those, you know, barriers down, and actually also protecting the future of your children and the generations.
No, it's key.
It is true. But I like confusing people, because when they see my CV, they see a French name and then they see like a Spanish name. So my surname's Granado, which is technically Spanish. So when they see a CV, they think, oh, okay. And then I walk in and they're like, oh, is your family French? Because your first name's French and your surname is like, my surname's Spanish. They're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, and I'm black.
Right. Surprise.
Like, it's probably why I've got every job I've gone for, really. They're a bit scared. They thought, yeah, we'll invite her in. She sounds all right. Then I come in and they think, oh, gosh.
And then she starts talking and they're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, right. That is a grab bag.
It's true. And that's the seller. And you know what? Once people get past how someone looks and someone's name, I mean, come on, let's stop. Let's just focus on the person, the individual. And I think that's really what we want to do moving forward.
I definitely feel like there is some change in coming together as, you know, as human beings. as the one race that we are.
Exactly.
Especially with the whole, you know, the shootings of numerous different people overseas, people's comments over here as well. And I mean, when I say people's comments, I mean some people on social media, people, you know, commenting on news articles, and it's like, well, yeah, that's America, it's not here. And it's like, guys, like, why? Like, one, that kind of crap does happen over here. The difference is obviously our police officers don't have, they're not armed. Yeah, we have a special unit, they have to get called in, blah blah blah. Cool. But we deal with different stuff when it comes to, you know, police in the streets. We have the stop and search and all this type of stuff, which they come to see that they do stop a lot of black males. Like, I've never been stopped driving my car. I've never been stopped. Never in my life have I ever been stopped driving as a black female. But I think that's because I'm female. Right. As a black male, you are more likely to be stopped, no matter what kind of car you're driving. And the excuses they use. But my point is that when people comment, it's not here, it's over there, so we don't need to worry. It's like, how uneducated.
How blinded are you?
Yeah, you're so, this is your privilege. This is what this is your privilege again, kicking in. And I don't think they realise that. But I'm so proud to see the rest of our country that came together, marching and standing, and everyone around the world standing in solidarity together. And that's what we need more of. And we can see it's slowly coming in, but it's happening too slow for my life. I'm just hoping it speeds up a bit more. So yeah, I definitely, we definitely was with you guys and everything you were going through during this time.
Thank you. And that was huge. Like I was really blown away by the global support that Black Lives Matter was receiving, and just that Black folks in general were receiving globally. It was a lot of anger. It was a lot of, like, you know, what the, you know, excuse my French, but what the hell is going on here? You know, and it was interesting, you know, because for a graphic novel project that I've been working on, the story is like based partly in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, and I was researching just the indigenous people there and kind of what they experience. And the indigenous people from Egypt are Black African, and so you know, and so reading about their history and what they've gone through and how they've been subjugated in their own home, and how they actually how the Nubians there have actually been using the Black Lives Matter movement as inspiration for their own movement against racism in Egypt. So it's very interesting how it's all kind of globally connected, and really beautiful that we're all borrowing from each other to heal these things that have been going on for far too long.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, me and Monique recognize the power of our company as well, right?
Yes, what you're doing is huge.
And, you know, it's a great partnership because we want to make a change. And, you know, we were really lucky to both go to a school where it's full of culture, full of colour. There wasn't that. I mean, obviously there were some issues with some kids, but I mean, definitely our friendship groups that we were a part of. I mean, I had the best days of my life. You know, I got taught to dance properly. I still love.
Went home with a few as well, like she got her hair plaited and stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, it's like, and there was once I never felt like, oh, I'm white, I shouldn't be mixing with Black people, or, you know, there was never any of that, and it was amazing. And so for us, and for me in particular, it's like, I'm behind Monique, I'm behind you, I'm behind every Black person, every person of colour who's experiencing these issues, and it disgusts me. It really does. It disgusts me and it hurts me. And yeah, I think for us, it's using our platform as well to really drive change and make that difference. And I don't care if people don't want to hear it, don't watch it.
yes, that.
yeah. And I think we're really lucky, you know, all these social platforms we have to use them to the best of our ability and to have a positive impact.
Exactly, exactly. And I was gonna say, like, social media has been huge, just in terms of, resistance movements globally, and how we've organized, and as a testament to that, it's interesting. Um, it just happened in India, and I feel bad because I'm not gonna get all the exact details right, but it involved Rihanna and how she basically used her platform to protest the treatment of Indian workers. Like, basically, there was a new law passed where you could get paid, and like a company could pay you anything, and that was the law. And Rihanna was using her voice to kind of promote that, and the government was trying to step in and remove Twitter's ability to amplify the voices of Indian workers because of Rihanna's involvement. So it's just like, what? But it just goes to show you the power of organizing and how social media
So they shut
really
down.
affects
They
change.
shut it down for 2 days, right?
Wait, did they?
Yeah, they shut it down for. I remember hearing this on the news the other day. They shut down the media platforms for 2 days, and then because I heard it, so they didn't tell us this, but then how they announced it was,
Mm.
Twitter have confirmed that their platform is now up and running after 2 days. So I was wondering what that was. They didn't give any backstory. That was
So
it.
interesting.
Yeah, it's no
That
surprise.
that's really jacked up. Oh yeah, our systems just went down for 2 whole days. I'm like, yeah, you guys have the smartest engineers in the world, and you couldn't. Okay.
But now we know the whole story, right? And this is what I mean about media, okay? They can be good, and social media is amazing for voicing concerns that you have and being able to really make a stand.
Right.
However, social media, in terms of the media and the news, they put out there what they want people to really act upon. And it's almost like brainwashing, okay?
Mm,
And I feel like from a young age, we're all engineered kind of and fed data to make us
mm,
think a certain way. So I think the one thing for me growing up, and Monique, I think the same, like we are both, I don't know how or where we get it from, but we're both very strong
yeah.
about how things should and shouldn't be. I don't know how we've learned that. We just have. And I think even from a young age, we're very much like, no, that's wrong. That shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it's weird thing that you have, right? So yeah, I think it's just playing on that and really sticking to that and being strong enough to go with that rather than listening to
Yes.
social media and society.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important to be able to not to receive information, to be open to hearing new information, but to be critical of it, and to fact check, and to actually use use the resources that are available to make critical decisions about what you're consuming. And that can be very hard, and to parse what's actually real and what's not. But I think so much of what happened this year politically could have been avoided if people just fact checked. And just confirmed.
Yeah, no one fact checks anything. Do your research. That's
Right.
the key thing.
Exactly.
Because they want to believe it, right? I don't know, what is that? It's like you hear something that's negative. So I hear something that's negative and I'm like, that can't be real. Like, I don't think that's really real.
Right.
So
Right.
let me have a look. But there's so many people who don't do that. It's like,
do you know what?
This.
I think I'd do it because I'm just straight up nosy. I'm just wait 1 second. What's going on here? No, what's this person? I'm just too nosy. So I'm in everything. I just need to know everything.
That is so real. Like, okay, let me check out. But it's interesting when you present alternate information to folks who are not used to getting their information countered, and then it turns into an emotional thing and no longer factual. It's like, well, I just don't believe it. And I'm like, but it's saying right here, and I've confirmed it at multiple sources, that that's not true. So it's very interesting, but it's something that has to be done.
It's funny because you, like you said, you show people and they said, well, that's probably not true. They're probably lying. I'm like, but you've just listened to the news and
Exactly.
like, why do you think they're not lying? Well, they wouldn't put it on TV, would they? And I was like, wow. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to leave.
Reality check. Like,
You just got to leave them.
Yeah, but the thing is that, you know, you're right, it does get emotional, and that's where the crossover is, right? And that's where people find it very hard to pull that apart, actually, reality and emotions.
Yes.
And I kind of think that's why as well people do turn the other way. They don't want to face reality. They don't want to have to admit that that's happening. And I think this brings me back to your books, because you're very much pulling reality forward and putting that to the person who's reading the book and connecting them and saying, this is reality. It's okay to feel these emotions.
Yes.
And this is how you can deal with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted to do that. Like I said, I especially wanted to do that for boys, just because I know growing up, and I know even for men nowadays, just talking with my male friends, I posted a status just because I just wanted to see what the male response would be, and no men necessarily commented on it directly publicly, but I got a ton of messages afterwards being like, you know, my father never hugged me, or my father never did this, or I never really connected with other men in this way. And it really just showed a lack of a lack of attention paid to men's emotional well-being. And you know, I'm a firm believer in that most of the world's issues come from not dealing with men's emotional issues. I think so many things occur, whether it be violence, whether it be what have you. I feel like there's just so much that we sweep under the rug and just hope will be treated, but that's not how trauma works. It needs to be dealt with, released, and then healed. And that's what this book series is about, is doing it for kids in a way that's fun, but is really getting at the heart of the emotional issues, is giving them a language to talk about their feelings.
Yeah, I think it's so important, so critical. And the reason why I'm smiling is because I'm going through something at the moment, and I had a conversation with a male person that I know and is close to me, and I was just kind of like laying it out, like, it's okay for you to say the situation is not okay. You don't need to tell me that this situation is okay, because I'm telling you what I see. That's not okay. Right. So let's deal with this. You have my support. I'm behind you. And not only am I behind you, but so are other people. Like, we're here for you. You don't need to deal with this on your own. And again, I don't know if it is a culture thing, but I do think some cultures, it's very much like you have to be a man. There's this image of macho men and not talking about your emotions, and you know. And actually, no, that's not it. You can still be macho man and have emotions.
Right. Being a macho man doesn't mean that you're a rock. You know, I mean, I personally find it even more amazing when somebody is very firm in their masculinity and what that means for them. But it's also like, man, I feel like crap today. You're like, wow, kudos, you know?
Yeah. Be honest about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk. And I think this is probably something we want to try and do as well going forward. You know, we've got this virtual cafe space, and we want to branch off into other areas. And maybe one of those things is actually getting men together to chat.
Yeah.
It's really important. And also, I think a huge thing in the UK and worldwide, you know, there's so many men who take their own lives because of the issues they're going through, because they can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't hear the media talking about that. Well,
you don't hear it enough. Maybe Mental Health Week or Mental Health Day, they might throw it out and be like, it's Mental Health Day, let's talk about our feelings, and then don't follow it up with anything really. It's just like a fad, really. And I think it's so important for men on a whole, when, you know, they're always told, boys don't cry from a young age. Boys don't cry. Boys are not supposed to cry. And it's one thing I've definitely vowed. Now I've had a boy, I'm not going to raise him to be like, you know, boys don't cry, don't do this, I need you to talk about your feelings. I need you to find your safe space and talk to whoever you, because sometimes it is just about, you don't have that person you can talk to.
Right.
And that's fine, but just there are places you can go and people you can reach out to kind of find it. I mean, it's so important, I think, for men, you know, their mental health and just being able to talk. I think we would deal with a lot, exactly what you said. I think a lot of problems stem from men not talking. Literally just screaming at each other, and then it blows into something else. I mean, not all men, but it just blows into something that it never needed to be. And these young kids out here now, especially in London, I mean, I don't know what's going on. And I feel like it stems from not being able to express their emotions, that we're losing children on this street through different knife crime and whatever else. Like, we're losing kids because of this, from the ages of like 11, 13, up until, you know, even 20, 30.
Oh my God.
Or we, you know, if we use our words more, hopefully we can start seeing a difference.
Yeah.
I do think it's about educating people about dealing with their emotions, having more control over it, and also how you react. So
yeah,
that is key. And when we talk about mental health, it's helping people control those emotions and how they then react to situations.
Your books would have been good for when we were growing up.
Yeah, they would have been
whole generation.
I wasn't born in the right time.
Fine, now's your time.
You were born and you're making a change now. That's
here and now. So that's the main thing. We've got to make sure everyone knows. And I think it's important for people to definitely look you up, get them books, buy those books, and start teaching these children from this age. You know what I mean? Like, even Elijah's 7 months now, and I love reading to him. I love him listening to music. But things like this, I can read these things to him from a young age. You know, even from when he was in my belly, we were like, music, reading, this, that. I've always been like that. But these are the type of books that would be amazing for parents to start introducing to their children, for them to be into schools as well, because this is just, you know, and I think with like people like counsellors, it's an amazing tool for them to reach out to children, especially with children that deals with bereavement. Oh my gosh, I think it'd just be an amazing thing for them to have. I definitely.
Thank you.
So they've got characters to be able to associate with as well.
Exactly that, because there's kids that have feelings that are just totally foreign. I mean, we've got kids that have parents who don't let them express themselves. But then we also have kids that don't have parents, are in care, are in children's home, and the adults around them, their jobs are just to make sure they're surviving, and they don't necessarily talk about their feelings and how to express themselves and how, you know, their mood and what they're going through. So these books would be amazing for, you know, especially young kids in care and things like that as well, because it'll be their go-to tool. It'll be good.
Thank you. And that's really been my next major goal, is really selling the books in bulk to organizations, because, you know, people really enjoy the books, they love them, but, you know, as an author, it's all about being seen and being visible. So at this point now, I'm just trying to reach out to organizations and be like, hey, you know, would you do a partnership where you buy a certain number of books and I do a certain number, I could do a series of workshops with your students, or, you know, and that's really what it comes down to. And I actually just got contacted by, he's a psychotherapist who works with kids. And he saw my books and was like, this is really cool. You know, I'm going to get this from my practice. And I forgot to add, almost knocked Nina over. Oops. I'm like,
hey, I'm
here. I just got contacted by Airbnb. It was insane. They were like, somebody in our company recommended you as a business, you know, to be listed on our server of businesses to support for Black History Month. And I was like,
wow,
this is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was sitting there like on the phone with my partner. I was like, yeah, you know, we're just talking. And I see Airbnb. I'm like, oh my God, did I not pay them for something? But then they were like, oh. But they were like, no, we want to have you as a guest, you know, vendor, and reach 5,000 people within the company. I'm like,
that's amazing. Oh, this is incredible. Well
It's
done.
all the energy you've been giving out. You're
Thank
now
you.
receiving it. So keep giving out that amazing energy, because it's just going to come
Yes.
flooding in. It's just going to keep flooding in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's incredible. And I think from seeing your journey and hearing your story, like, you're just such an inspiration to so many people.
Thank you.
And I think for anyone listening, what are your like tips and advice for not only getting through COVID and turning that around, what was going on, and using that as a positive, but just in general, you know, like going for your dream and really just getting out there?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, dealing with COVID, I think that the trick has been kind of like maybe two or threefold. Surrounding yourself, with people. And I know that it's tougher because social distancing and we can't really see others, but there are safe ways to connect with people. That's been the most important part for me, is just connecting with people. Like, I mean, I'm not really a huge texter. I'm more of a phone call guy, but I've been on the phone all the time. I'm like, hey girl, how's your Tuesday? just to talk about the weather, and finding like a core group of people who you can connect with authentically, and safely, because not everybody necessarily is safe to be vulnerable with. So finding that group of people who you can do that with. I think the next thing that's important for me, and that I'm still discovering day by day, is finding the things that bring you joy. Because in a time where we're kind of stuck in our houses and without a whole lot to do, I picked up reading again. I've been drawing like crazy. I've been listening to music. I've been trying to dance.
Oh God.
Wait, what did you say?
I said, oh God. He's been trying to dance. Oh God.
I've got some moves. My father's side is from the Caribbean, so I've got a little something.
What part? Okay. What part? Come on, what part?
Dominica, but we've never. I've never been. Our family name was Playa, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I apparently found some family members, not on the island, but in New York with that last name, and I'm like, we're related.
We're family.
Come and dance with me.
Hey fam, right? Come dance. What's up?
So dancing during lockdown.
Oh my God, Zumba and Afrobeat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's helped a lot. But as far as like my journey and advice for that, the biggest piece of advice is to be authentic, to be you in all spaces. And I know that that's very difficult sometimes, because that some people won't receive you potentially well because you're being your authentic self. But for every door that's closed because I've been authentically me, 10 more have popped up, because I'm attracting the right people into my space. And that's been consistently true for me. I think the next thing would be is to be able to organize and plan what it is that you want to do. And that's something that I've only done within the past year or so, because like when I first started out, I was doing everything just to see what stuck, just to see what was sticking against the wall. But now I've narrowed my focus to be illustrating books for other people, creating my own books, and doing workshops and live events, because I love to connect with people. So having a clear, concise vision of what I want my business to be really helps, because then I can execute it, as opposed to maybe doing this today or maybe doing that tomorrow because I just need money to come in. So I think that's more of the practical advice. And then two, as a freelancer like myself, it's important to save. I mean, it's important for everybody to save. But I take about 30% of everything that I earn and I put it into like a savings account that builds interest really quickly with Ally Bank. And that helps me to
Shout
save.
out.
Oh, right. I don't know if I could do that.
Do whatever here.
I was like, ooh, we're brand dropping. But no, so I save at Ally Bank, and that they have a good interest rate. It's dropped because of COVID and everything, because of the economy, but it'll pick back up once things get back to normal. So, you know, my three biggest piece of advice, be authentically you. Always show up the way that you want to be received, because you will attract the people that are meant for you. And the minute that you start acting like somebody that you're not, you attract the wrong people to you, because they're drawn to that aspect of you. The next piece of advice is to save 30% of everything that you earn as a freelancer or as an independent business. And then lastly, it was to organize and plan exactly what it is that you want your business to focus on, so that you can, you know, pour it into that and have multiple streams of income.
Yes.
Brilliant. Amazing advice. And I think definitely something people can use to benefit their own situation they're going through. And also, I strongly advise anyone to go out and purchase your book now.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I just think it's so inspiring. And again, it's bringing here it is. It's bringing and promoting emotions and how you should talk about those. Yeah, it's incredible.
Oh, wait,
So
inspiring. I'll show you a page from the book. Oh,
it's amazing. So everyone go out there and purchase one of these right now, and you'll find a link in our bio profile. Yeah. So click on that and buy the book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us.
Oh my God, this has been phenomenal. I'm so happy to see you, Michelle. Monique, it has been incredible meeting you, and I'm really honored by this invitation just to chat and talk about the craziness of the world, but also talk about the funny things and the joy that comes with it too. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's amazing having you.
Thank you.